Good afternoon and welcome to Code Like a Startup, running the enterprise, outthink your limits with IBM Bluemix with Jazz Atwal. Before I hand over to Jazz, here's a quick introduction to eSynergy Solutions. eSynergy specialise in open source and cloud resourcing. So if you're looking for a new opportunity or to build out your team, please get in touch after the webinar. Now, moving on to some housekeeping. If you have any questions for Jazz, please fire them over via the question box throughout, and Jazz will answer them at the end of his talk. We are recording the session, and the slides and recording will be made available and sent to you tomorrow by email, along with my contact details. Now I'm going to pass over to Jazz to begin the talk.
Thank you, Adele. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jazz Atwal. I work within Hybrid Cloud business unit within IBM, specifically working with the Bluemix digital innovation platform. So it's a platform as a service. And today's talk is about Bluemix, and it'll be a quick introduction and a short demonstration to finish off. So, yeah, so what is Bluemix and how does it actually work? So, first of all, there's a digital disruption on the way at the moment. So if you look at things, companies such as Uber and Airbnb, you know, their business model itself is based on, you know, a web application that enables users to book taxis or alternatively book hotel or accommodation. So Uber, as an example, a transport organization that actually doesn't own any vehicles. We look at Airbnb, for example. It's a ability to book hotels, but actually doesn't actually own any real estate. So the point we're making here is the fact that, you know, two people sat in a Starbucks could have access to the same computing power as a Fortune 500 company. You don't need to be a large enterprise to actually have the ability to really go out and disrupt other organizations. So to really disrupt, businesses should be focusing on building differentiation through IT applications and rent the rest. And this is where Bluemix comes in as a platform as a service. So what developers really want to do is they want to quickly compose applications, access APIs and back-end systems, add some digital services, and increase engagement in areas such as cognitive analytics, mobile, Internet of Things, messaging and push notifications and the like, and obviously have access to private and also public APIs to then enhance the applications that the web or mobile applications they're creating. So as I said, companies of all sizes can have the ability to disrupt, but they can also be disrupted as well. And the key point here is the fact that organizations need to deliver the right application to the right user at the right time and ensure that they have a good user experience. Because a lot of customers and users of applications, if it fails for the first time they try and download it or log in, more than likely they will probably delete it and go to a competitive application. So Bluemix works for disruptors. So what exactly is it? So it's a platform as a service based on open standards which enable you to build, run, and manage your applications. Okay, so in terms of how developers are building applications, open standards such as using Cloud Foundry, Docker containers to containerize your applications and make them portable, and also OpenStack and VMwares. So the ability to quickly have infrastructure available to you in a matter of moments. Also provides the ability to scale applications as well. So not only vertical scaling, but horizontal as well. So increasing things like RAM and the number of instances which are available and resources which are available. Also have the ability to extend applications with services. There's a whole catalog of services which are available within Bluemix. It is the largest catalog available for any platform as a service. But we also provide the capability to add or for customers to add their own services through creation of APIs, but also to provide access to third-party services as well. And we'll go on to see all of these during the demonstration. Also, from a deployment perspective, it is a hybrid-based cloud. So not only public access, but you can also have a dedicated and a local instance as well, which I'll go on to talk about shortly. And in terms of security, there's the ability to not only secure the platform and the infrastructure, but the actual applications themselves. So there is built-in security and security services which you can actually use and build into your app, so you don't have to write them from scratch. And from a pricing perspective, there are a couple of options: pay-as-you-go and also subscription-based. There is also a free tier which is available for any service, including storage and RAM as well. So every service will have a free tier, so you can go in and start using it immediately after the call if you so wish. So in terms of the deployment model that I mentioned, the traditional sort of customer managed infrastructure to the left-hand side there, where the customers would have to stand up the servers, the networking, provide the storage, the virtualization, middleware, runtimes, etc., and the developers would then start using that platform. That could take weeks, if not months, to stand up. There are known instances of it taking 6 months to stand up development environments. So in terms of Bluemix, as I mentioned, it is a platform as a service. So to the right-hand side there, you don't have to worry about your storage, your networking, your servers, any virtualization. You don't even have to worry about your operating systems or the middleware or the runtime. As a developer, I just want to have infrastructure which is available there, ready for me to use at the click of a button. I can start coding. So yeah, it is sort of zero to code in 5 minutes, and hopefully the demonstration which I'll go on to show you. I mentioned public, dedicated, and local instances. So public is multi-tenant. The only thing that is actually shared is the networking. Dedicated is a single tenant, so it's dedicated to a certain customer and is available on any of the IBM soft layer data centers around the world, of which there is 40 at the moment. And the local, that's actually on-premise. So we can install and set up Bluemix either on your own servers or provide a server for you and manage that the application itself, the Bluemix application, and provide remote updates. Okay, so Bluemix works with your applications. So as I mentioned, it is based on open standards. So it's a key thing within IBM. A lot of our applications that we're creating and our solutions we're creating are based on open standards. So I mentioned Cloud Foundry, Docker, and OpenStack. So from a compute perspective, there's a good level of infrastructure abstraction. From a location perspective, I mentioned public, dedicated, and also local. And again, you can connect between all of those 3 instances, but also connect to your back-end legacy systems as well. So from a development tooling and a DevOps pipeline, there is a built-in DevOps and delivery pipeline within Bluemix. However, there is the ability to connect into open source tooling such as Git and GitHub Enterprise, such as Jenkins and Eclipse. So there are plugins which are available to customers. So you're not tied into anything that's specific to IBM. And I mentioned services, so there's IBM provided services, third party, open source, and your own services you can actually create and host within your environment. So in essence, this is how Bluemix works. So you have your server, whether it's your Bluemix public, dedicated, or local. On top of which you'll need some compute options. So your applications could be created in Cloud Foundry, they could be containerized within Docker containers, or there could be virtual machines which are deployed through OpenStack. And then above that, a number of services to extend the capabilities of your application you're actually creating. So the number of services which are there really do help and enable things such as IoT and analytics. You don't have to create the actual code itself. Services are there and readily available. You just have to bind them to your applications. And obviously, at the top there, we have our own, or your own, should I say, hosted apps and services which you can connect into your apps. The left-hand side, dev tooling, which I've just mentioned, and to the right-hand side, integrations into your back-end legacy systems. So there is an API management lifecycle within Bluemix, so you can manage your APIs from a create, run, manage, and security perspective. So the full lifecycle of API management is actually supported within Bluemix itself.
Please hold.
Oh, go away. Ah, sorry, I'm just having a phone issue. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so seamless experience. So whether you're working within public, dedicated, or local, it is a single user interface. So once you've got used to the UI, you're fine to use any of those instances. You don't have to sort of go through a learning process again. So in terms of the offerings, public, dedicated, and local, just a quick comparison here. So as I mentioned, public is multi-tenant, dedicated single, and local single. On public, it's pay-as-you-go and subscription, whereas dedicated is subscription only, and local the same as well. In terms of standing up the infrastructure, so public is instant, dedicated 2 weeks, and obviously local is customer dependent because it depends on how long it will take for the infrastructure to be in place. At the moment, the public instance is available in London, Dallas, and Sydney, and dedicated obviously any location where any software location, I should say. Okay, so I mentioned Bluemix is built on SoftLayer. The other key thing to SoftLayer is the fact that we don't charge for any data transferring data between point A and point B if it's you're transferring data from London, Dallas, or Sydney, for example. So throughput 2,000 gigabits per second per data center. So it's a very robust and reliable infrastructure that we have available. Okay, so I mentioned a couple of slides ago, there is a trial available, so a 30-day free trial with a free tier for every service which is available. I mentioned pay-as-you-go and subscription-based modeling, and it is self-service. So I mentioned going from zero to coding in less than 5 minutes. Hopefully, that is the demo. Hopefully, that will show shortly. Okay, so let's see it working. I guess at that point, if there are any questions, I'll quickly check the chat. No questions at the moment. Okie dokie. Okay, so when you first log into Bluemix, you're presented with your dashboard. So I'll quickly walk you through the dashboard here. So to the left-hand side, we have a number of spaces. So spaces are basically areas where you can just group your application. So they may be based on pre-production development and testing applications, for example, and then production applications. Alternatively, it could be based on a particular project. So for example, here within the marketing project, or here within the dev project, I have a number of applications. These are applications that are previously created. Gives me a quick health check on the application, if it's running, if it's stopped. Tells me the runtimes I'm using here, so a number of runtimes which are available, and build packs, so Liberty for Java, for example, Node.js, and also the number of services which are available within this particular space itself, and what that service offering is. we just scroll to the top here, I can quickly create a new application, Cloud Foundry application. Alternatively, I may want to create a container to containerize my app. I can run some virtual servers. I can also work with data and analytics, and also services and existing APIs, or create new APIs. If we just go to the catalog here quickly, and what you'll see is a number of services which are available. So we have some boilerplates. There was a starter for 10. You can quickly get up and running with Internet of Things starter pack, for example, which will generate the code for you and allow you to connect to devices. Could be mobile first services starter pack, for example. Number of compute technologies which I mentioned. So in terms of runtimes, support for Liberty for Java, Ruby on Rails, PHP, Go, Python, Swift. And then in terms of containers, support for IBM containers, which are based on Docker containers, so it uses the same technology. But I can also create my own custom image as for a container itself. Number of services available. I won't go through each one, but we'll point out a couple of things. So, for example, some Watson services. So what we've done is taken Watson, created some microservices, which then accesses the Watson capability and technology to do things like personality insights, sentiment analysis, things like language translation, tone analyzer, text to speech, which is one we're going to use during the demonstration itself. But we can also look at the DevOps options. So a number of services which are available within the DevOps space. From an integration perspective, I mentioned APIs and access to back-end legacy systems, but you'd need to use some kind of secure gateway to actually access that. And a couple more. If we look at data and analytics, so cloud and NoSQL databases available, Postgres, the SQL databases are also available, and MongoDB, which is quite popular these days for application developers. And last but not least, API. So I mentioned the API lifecycle. So there are a number of options which are available to you, and you can actually manage and create your APIs directly within Bluemix itself. And at the bottom here, in the bottom left-hand side, we can actually filter by, third-party, community services, or obviously our own services we've created and have available within Bluemix itself. Okay, so that was a quick whirlwind tour of Bluemix itself, and what I'll go on and do now is the demo itself. So the context here is, as a developer, I may be working with the marketing department on a new marketing campaign. Now, for that marketing campaign, the idea is to reward our most loyal and valued customers and enter them into a prize draw. And they can check to see if they've actually won the monthly prize draw. To enable us to do that, we'll need to create a website, and that website we're going to host on Bluemix because A, it's quick and easy to get up and running, B, it's scalable, and scalable. So then what we'll do is we'll connect to a back-end database through an API that the IT team have already created, and that will go through a secure gateway, access the data, the database, and send the information back up through the secure gateway back into the front-end application and display the results to tell us if we've won or lost. So it will give you an idea of how we can quite quickly go from having nothing to actually having an application that's up and running. So what we'll do first of all is we'll create an application here. We'll create a web application, and we will create a Node.js application. Just enter a name. So I'm just going to call this JSA1. put it into the UK instance. Now, what this is doing is it's deploying a Node.js environment. It's standing up the application, which will then be available to me to access straight away. It will contain some starter code in there, which I can actually download through this option here. Or alternatively, what I can do is if I've already got pre-existing code of an application, I can actually push that directly up into Bluemix very, very quickly. And that's the process that we'll actually take. Notice that I haven't stood up any VMs. I haven't spoke about storage. I haven't had to set up any networking. And I haven't had to deploy anything apart from entering a name. Bluemix has taken care of the rest. So this is the application. I can just navigate to it directly, and it's up and running. So as I mentioned, it is a starter, just a short starter code, which is available there. I'll leave that web page open. What I'll do is I'll come back and refresh this page once I've uploaded the application code itself. So if I come into a command prompt here, what I've done is I've logged into Bluemix through Cloud Foundry. I've authenticated. I've accessed my workspace, and this instance it's dev. And then what I've done is I've navigated to the folder where the code is itself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a quick Cloud Foundry command to push the application into Bluemix and overwrite the application we created. Now, we didn't have to create the application directly in Bluemix first. I could have just done the CF push, provided an application name, and then the application would have been deployed directly to Bluemix. Now, that's going to take a little while, so what we'll do is, because it needs to stage the application itself, I'll open up one I created earlier, which is this one here. So, I'll just refresh this page here quickly. Okay, so this is the application. Once the code is uploaded, this is what it looks like, and it's using AngularJS and Node.js. And if I enter an email address and select find out if I've won, it tells me that API has not been found. So this is what it's trying to do. It's trying to access the API that's going to go through the skill gateway to access the database to then retrieve the information that I need. So let's implement that. Now, some of you may be familiar with Node-RED. It's a way of programming and coding without the need to actually do much coding. So what we'll do is we will look at entering HTTP request and a response. And for this URL, we're going to just enter winner in here. Click OK. And what we've done is made available the award API. Okay, and this award API was created in Bluemix, and we just connect these things together. And once we've connected those, I can then deploy this part of the application. Tells me it's successfully deployed. If I now come back into the application and refresh, enter my email address and select find out, it tells me that I haven't won this time. So that's actually retrieving the information through that back-end legacy system that stores all of our customer information. Now, I do happen to know that Jennifer, if I can spell her name correctly, is on the win list. So if I put her email address in, perfect. It tells me that she's a winner and she's won the deluxe package, for example. Now, what we may also want to do is we may want to be a bit more innovative and use one of the Watson capabilities. I mentioned one earlier, which is text-to-speech, and we can actually plug that in as well. So if we come back to Node-RED, and I've got the flow already created here. I'm just going to copy that, paste that into my flow, connect them together, and then deploy this part of the application. If I then go back to my website and refresh, put volume up on my speakers, put Jennifer's email address back in here again.
Congratulations, Jennifer Chang. You have won our deluxe package.
So, as you can see, quite quickly, I can go from not having to worry about any infrastructure, any runtimes, deploying the app, don't have to worry about services. Very quickly, I can go from having a bit of code that was available to me to actually publish that, create a website, and have that actually up and running and working for me. And if we just go back to this starter code, that should have deployed. It only takes a couple of minutes, but in the interest of time, I just wanted to leave that running in the background. As you can see, it's updated the application itself. So that was the end of the demo. If you have any questions, I'll check the chat. But feel free to ask away. Okay. No questions? No. So, can you see any questions, Adele? Oh, there was some there. Maximize that. Here we go. Okay. Okay, I'll start from the bottom in terms of pricing. So one of the questions is around pricing. Now, you do have easy access to pricing, and it is publicly available. So if I just come back in to Bluemix itself, and go to pricing model, pricing section here. There's a couple of ways that you can do or view the pricing model. There is a calculator available. You should be able to see the options here. If we scroll down, there is a pricing calculator, so you can put in estimates of how much of a service you think you'll be using, how much RAM, how many instances you need to stand up, etc., and then have the monthly cost returned to you. The other thing is, if I go into a service itself, so if I come into catalog, each service itself will have an associated cost to it. So if we selected, for example, storage, data and analytics, and we went to the cloud and NoSQL database, tells me here, gives me information about the pricing itself. So 20 gigabytes of free data storage, and then thereafter, the cost is 60p per gigabyte, and then number of API calls which are made as well. So you are charged for the API calls themselves. Yeah, so so as soon as you've got an account, you can check all the pricing information itself. So another question: what are the living? Not entirely sure what that question means. So Ram, if you could ask that again. I don't really understand the question. There is a question around, does Bluemix provide containers for AIX? I'm not entirely sure on that. And ZOS. Not out of the box. The containers which are available are Okay, so the question that I didn't understand, it was just about the pricing model. That's fine. Okay. Okay, so these are the default containers which are provided by IBM. So there's Liberty, there's Node, and mobile first. But as I said, you can create your own container itself and manage and package that how you wish. Okay, but any other questions? There's nothing coming in on the chats. Okay, Adele, I guess over to you. Or at that point, I should say, thanks for listening, and if there are no more questions, thanks for your time. And yeah, go on and have a little play. It's free to use, and it's a 33-day trial, and you don't have to enter your credit card information either, which is even better. Okay, thanks for your time, everybody.